Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, boomers and zoomers, what is going on? So today, I'm going to teach you how to play Soul Fighter for Battlegrounds, aka 6v6, aka The Whales Are Coming. And to be honest, the only reason why I'm doing this is because I want a free 2,000 gold from my clan member, Darksma, because he is currently running a competition sort of giveaway thing in the NA Battlegrounds Discord. Or whoever writes the most comprehensive guide for their class gets 2,000 gold out of a pot, something like that. So yeah, this is why I'm here. This is free for me because obviously everyone knows me for playing Soul Fighter, and who wants to write a guide on Soul Fighter besides this dumb guy named me? Haha. Anyways, so let's get into it. First thing that we're going to talk about is specs. What spec should you play? Well, this is the only spec that you should play because Enduring Strength is a spec that isn't even really a spec for Soul Fighter. It is absolute garbage. Don't ever use this thing. It's trash tier. You need to be completely maxed and beyond maxed to even make that remotely close to viable. So our only optional spec that we have for PvP is Eternal Soul, aka Ice. Ah, man. Sure, it would be nice if we had two specs like most of the other classes. But we don't. Alright, so first thing we're going to get into is talent tree. Your talent tree is going to look like this. It's going to be 3, 3, 3, 3, 1. The reasons for this is the first row. You're going to spec into whatever the hell this is called because I'm illiterate and can't read. But basically, it's going to buff the damage of your Frost Storm and your Astral Beam. That's really good. Second row, it's going to, Mortal Resilience is going to change Resurrection Chi to become a 5-second death immunity for your team. And it also allows you to resist status effects during the duration of Resurrection Chi. So for 5 seconds, you can't be CC'd. All around, great ability. Must run on a 3-minute cooldown. This is your only form of a party protect for team fights. For the third row, we're going to be using Disarming Tactics, and the reason for that is I don't actually have no idea what the hell it does for this, but it does change Howling Blast to apply a 2-second knockdown. It is a 3-meter AoE knockdown. Ground Ripple becomes a knockback, and Lightning Fist becomes a stun. For the fourth row, we're going to be using Storm Solidarity. The reason for that is Storm Solidarity will make Froststorm and Ice Helix follow the caster instead of staying stationary wherever it is placed. So basically, when I press F, it's going to move around like this with you. This is all around what you're mostly going to be using in sixes. If there's a lot of classes that you could potentially cheese and you want like really high, like just like throwing out dumb damage everywhere, you could potentially run Glacial Affinity, although no one has ever really run this because it's not really good. Froststorm Ice Helix provides really good damage, and if it follows you around, hey, you know, it works. So recommend running this spec. For the fifth row, we're going to be using Enema Fusion. The reason for that is Enema Fusion is going to decrease the cooldowns of all your skills by 3 seconds per enema stack. So in total, I can't remember what it is, but it's really good. This allows it so that you can use your dashes and SSs more frequently and apply a lot of CCs. If you are into a super aggressive kill style, like how I usually am, I don't run it anymore because I don't have the gear to apply the pressure like that. But I used to run it, which is it's Enema Surge. And what Enema Surge is going to do is it's going to decrease the cooldown of Focus Chi by 8 seconds. So by reducing the cooldown of Focus Chi, aka your Z, it'll allow you to get more Glacial Blast off. Excuse me. This is mostly a really high kill pressure, sort of like a glass cannon build. I don't really recommend this to new players. This is more for like the OG players who have been playing the game for a long time, have a crap load of gear, and just like want to go for the ultimate kill pressure. But for the most part, you're only going to be using Enema Fusion because it just works. As far as your point distribution goes, you're going to put 5 points in the Frost Storm, 5 points in the Ice Helix, and 5 points in the Glacial Blast. You could potentially put 5 points in the Right Punch, but honestly, one of these 3 abilities is going to kill someone. Rarely do you ever kill someone with a Right Punch, so really not that big of a deal. All right, let's talk about gear. Gear is very, very, very important for soul. Who am I kidding? Gear doesn't really matter for this class. This class is a crap load of damage, sort of a glass cannon type of class. It does a lot of damage. Like, don't get me wrong, it does a lot of damage, but it has very, very poor survivability. Despite what some people may think, they think this class is extremely overpowered or just on crack. In Arena, yeah, sure, it's overpowered, but who plays Arena anymore? This is 2020, that's dead content, no one cares. For 6v6, it's pretty much a glass cannon. Like like if you struggle to kill a soul fighter, I honestly don't know what you're doing with your life, and you should probably reconsider whatever class you're playing, or even playing this game. This class is really easy to kill, but it's also really easy to die to this class. So for our gear, obviously you're gonna want your PvP weapon. I have Incinerator Bracelet, Bracer. Weapons, so long as you have like a Dragon Fang or Dragon Forge or Dragon Forge 3 or higher, you're pretty much solid. You're going to want the PvP ring. And for earring, you're going to want the PvE earring. The only real reason why you'll be running the PvE earring is for the mystic damage and the modifier to Right Punch for the weird occasion that you might actually use Right Punch. You could potentially run the PvP earring. You will run the PvP earring if you want to be a little bit more tankier, but like I said, this class is mostly a glass cannon type of class, so you can try to be as tanky as you want. It really doesn't matter. You're gonna die. The range classes are going to kill you. Anyways, necklace, obviously you want the PvP necklace, very big. Bracelet, you're going to be running your PvE bracelet, which is Wild Sung, or I can't remember what the other one is called. Divinity. Basically, this is where the majority of your damage is going to be coming from. Every time that you use Lightning Fist, it'll proc the bracelet for 15 seconds, and the bracelet will then add modifiers to your Right Punch, Astral Beam, and or Cannon, and a Glacial Blast. These are the 3 main abilities that do damage in 6s. So without proccing this effect, you're pretty much going to be a wet noodle. Belt, you want your PvP belt. I have a crappy PvP belt, but you know, you want the latest tier PvP belt. Glove, you can run the PvP glove. I have it because I've had it for a very long time. But the Suncatcher glove from Hangar 0 provides more damage, so it's more optimal to run the Suncatcher glove. There are new gloves coming out in the future you could potentially use, but I don't know if we're going to end up using it, because like I said, this is a glass cannon type of class, so it's meh. For your badge, you're going to be using your raid badge. I have a dynasty badge because, again, I don't play this class anymore, but it'll be the ET badge. I have no idea what the equivalent of it's called for ET. You can look up another soul fighter. For that. For your soul badge, I run Arcana soul badge, and it's Awakened Stage 8. The only reason why it's Awakened Stage 8 is because I had a older badge that was Stage 8, and then it was made useless for PvP, or I'm at PvE, so I swapped it to an Arcana badge. Basically, what this badge is going to do is it's going to stack, well, actually, that part's not important. It's going to add 600 attack power as additional damage when you use Breeze Kick. It'll reduce the cooldown of self-defense chi by 35 seconds when you use focus chi, which is your Z. And it also increases the duration of your self-defense chi by 2 seconds. So instead of being 5 seconds, it goes to 7 seconds total. If you don't have the fused version of this, the one badge that you want to get, it is Magnum. It is an old badge, but it's called Magnum. It's going to do the reduction on self-defense chi and duration increase. Blue Moon Soul badge is the badge that adds a modifier to Breeze Kick. Honestly, we don't really use Breeze Kick in 6s anymore. So, I mean, having this badge is a luxury. Mostly you just want the Magnum badge for the self-defense chi in duration increase and reduction. As far as souls go, you can run around with a true cosmic soul. It doesn't matter. Pets, obviously you want a decent pet to have somewhat survivability. And talisman. Talisman's really good for 6s because it provides good defensive stats. But if you're a pleb, don't worry about it. Pretty much. Alright, the last thing we're going to talk about is soul shields. Now, soul shields is a little bit of a tricky sort of combination to pick between. But without a doubt, when you're first starting off, you're going to want to try and get Avenging Nova Soul Shield set. And honestly, I recommend that you get the 8 set effect entirely, because with the 8 set effect, you get 7.5% cooldown reduction on self-defense chi times 2. So essentially, self-defense chi is going to be going down to about a 3-second cooldown like so. I recommend this mostly for the defensive part. A lot of soul fighters like to run 3-set ET and then 5-set rest of PvP soul shields. And honestly, I feel like that's not really worth using anymore. Because they've had so many nerfs to the soul shields to sort of tone down soul fighter for this type of method. And a lot of soul fighters are mostly using the ET soul shields for the breeze kick damage. But I mean, it's not really worth. God, oh no, the server's coming down. I'm trying to do a video. Shut up. Anyways, what I was saying is that honestly, using the ET Soul Shield 3-set effect is not really worth using for the breeze kick damage, because I don't know, like it really turns you into more of a glass cannon, and the class is already a glass cannon, and the potential bonus damage from it is not really worth it. Running a 5-set or running 8-set avenging is perfectly fine. Like, your damage output is, this class already does really stupid damage, and to be a little bit more tankier is always a bonus. So highly recommend just running a full 8-set effect of PvP shields right now currently, because I started to work on it but I gave up because I hate Soul Fighter. I have 3-set Enduring Dragon, which is the latest Soul Shield set. Then I have 5-set Avenging. Your ultimate in-game is to get 8-set Enduring Dragon, and the reason for this is because at 8-set effect, you get 933 debuff defense, and that's actually pretty huge. And what debuff defense does for you is whenever you're CC'd, debuff defense kicks in, and it reduces the damage that you take while under a certain status effects, like a stun, a knockdown, an aerial. It will reduce the damage. And honestly, that's way worth more to me than breeze kicking someone for like 100k damage or 150k damage or even potentially 200k damage. Like, it's a little bit too much. My recommendation is to go full 8-set. Some people will tell you otherwise. Honestly, it's not much of a difference. At the end of the day, you're always going to kill someone with Glacial Blast. It doesn't really matter. Alright, let's talk about playstyle. Playstyle is actually pretty simple. This is what you're going to do on the Soul Fighter. You're going to play as aggressive as possible. There is no such thing as a passive Soul Fighter. Passive Soul Fighters die. If you play passively on a Soul Fighter, you are asking to be picked off and die. You have to be as aggressive as possible on this class if you want to be able to have an impact for your team. I've seen a lot of Soul Fighters who are like really, really passive, and they're really, really slow on their decision making. And they typically die for that, or they miss out on a lot of opportunities. You need to be fast. You need to be aggressive. You need to be in their face, but not in their face if it's such as like a warden or a destroyer. You don't want to really be in their face if you don't have much available to you in your kit, like your self-defense chi or your focus chi. You don't want to be in their face if it's a warden or a destro. Do not be in their face. But other classes such as like a warlock, an FM, a summoner, a BM, another soul fighter, a gunner, archer, you want to be in their face. You want to be in there trying to land damage down on top of them, and or some form of a CC. As far as combos go, there is no combo for this class. Like, honestly, it's wherever you could fit damage in. The most important thing that you want to do is proc your bracelet by using Lightning Fist. Once you proc that, you have 15 seconds to just lay down as much damage as possible. But as far as combos, like, this is honestly the easy, like, the cheese combo. And this is what everyone does. You know, they go in for the stun, knocked up, stance shift, F, Z, F, F, F. Other soul fighters that have more damage than I do basically charge up that, or they charge up Focus Chi, cast, Ice Helix, air, and that's pretty much it. I know I'm talking slow because, like, I'm trying to think, and, like, when I play this class, I don't think. My brain goes on autopilot, so I do things automatically. I'm not even conscious of my decisions. It's how long I've played this class. So, like, my brain just shuts off. So me explaining this out loud is actually very, very hard. But you'll charge up your Focus Chi, cast your Ice Helix, dash in with your Lightning Fist, air, switch stance, and use Glacial Blast. This is if you have a lot of gear, but for the most part, it's just going to be Lightning Fist into an air, stance shift, Windstorm, Z, FF. Other cheesy sort of methods is, let's say you don't have Focus Chi up for Glacial Blast, right? So you can air someone, use Windstorm, get some damage down. You know, the roll, you catch the roll, and then hit them with the Astral Beam. And the Astral Beam, most of the time, will actually chunk them really hard. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but it does a lot of damage. Like, that's actually a lot of damage. And this is only, again, this is only possible through your bracelet proc. Now, if you, I think, okay, no. No. Alright, here's another useful combo that you can pull off on spin classes like Destroyer or Blade Dancer. This is kind of cheesy, and you have to have really good ping to pull this off. I have rarely ever used this combo, but basically the principle is you're going to charge up your Focus Chi, you're going to knock down with Leg Sweep, and then immediately Ground Ripple, stance shift with Tab, throw out 2 Glacial Blasts into a Glacial Beam stun with a Displace, and then throw out the remaining 3 Glacial Blasts. This is a pretty good kill combo for spin classes, because spin classes are really, really annoying to land a CC on. And just in general, like, if you're trying to catch a spin class, you can mostly cheese them by using Q or E, and then immediately with a Howling Blast. Pretty useful. A lot of people don't really use just, like, they don't use Q or E with a leg sweep, because a lot of the times leg sweep will miss, because Blade Dancers, when they're using their tab spin, they usually have a, they get a speed buff. It's not usually, it's been combined. So they get a speed buff, so they're really, really hard to catch. So you got to be really quick with the Q or E and hit them with the Howling Blast. Alright, here's one of my personal favorite combos that I only really use on Wardens or Destroyers. This works very well on 3rd Spec Destroyers because they sort of just sit there and take the damage and don't really have much to protect themselves, so long as you burn the essential things like their Sheath or their Sea Bubble. It also works on Earth Spec Destroyers as well, but you gotta kind of wait until they don't have a shield. But this combo is a combination of your Soul Surge, which is your G ultimate, and Focus Chi, which through the Focus Chi we'll be using both Glacial Blast and Ice Helix while being on top of them. One key note that you should make mentally is that if you land the first hit of Soul Surge, you get an iframe, and you get up to 3 iframes. Afterwards, you have no iframes, and that's only if the first hit of Soul Surge hit. If it doesn't hit and you miss, you are in trouble. But after you use your Soul Surge, use your Self-Defense Chi to give yourself some form of a protection. But essentially, it's going to look something like... something like that, where you're just constantly laying down, just like all of your burst all of your damage that you could possibly lay down on a target, you're going to land it on him. And like I said, you're only going to use this on a warden or a destroyer. With a warden, they're typically going to block, and that's okay because Soul Surge goes through a block. And the other cool little thing about Soul Surge is it has that sort of Omewa Shinnaru type of effect. So after you do the second cast of Soul Surge, after 3 seconds, it'll explode, granting you 5 stacks of chi for another Frost Storm. And it will lay down quite a bit of damage. Here's a clip of me doing it on a destroyer, not in this exact sort of manner, but you'll see pretty much how I utilize the G ultimate.
Oh, okay. Fuck him up.
Another little cheesy combo that you could do against spin classes is you'll lightning fist in, then get away from them, get about the max distance, about 15 to 16 meters. I recommend about 15 meters. You're going to try and cast as many glacial blasts as possible, and right before the glacial blast hits, you're going to hit them with the astro beam. Now, a lot of the times you can catch these spin classes off guard if they don't see it, and you can pretty much instantly pop them because they're kind of hard to kill, and they're kind of annoying to CC, especially 3rd Spec Destro is really annoying to land a CC. So a lot of the times you could just kill them, but basically you're just gonna, go woo. And as you can see, most of this all lands down within the same time frame. Glacial Blast, Astro Beam, Glacial Blast, Astro Beam. This is a really cheese thing that you only really use against spinners, and you got to do it to when they're not paying attention. Like if it's a destroyer, you need to do it when they're not paying attention, because otherwise they'll put down their shield and you can't actually do anything to them. But it's really handy. The further you are away, the better, because Glacial Blast has a travel time, as you can kind of see. So the further away you are, the better. You can also sort of do this to cheese other classes, like if you want to get in a lot of damage, like right before it connects. You can sort of cheese damage in like that. I'll do this again. I'm at 16. That's another little nifty trick that you can do. But, as far as any other tips or tricks that I can give to you, the one thing that I can say, and this is pretty common with all soul fighters, I'm sure if you've ever fought a soul fighter, you will see them use this sort of generic dash pattern. When you're trying to evade damage, always start with your SS. When you go to evade more damage, use your other SS. Then you're going to use your E and your Q, or your Q and your E, whatever your preference is. Then you're going to go back into your melee stance, and you're going to use E and Q. And the reason for this is because your E and your Q in melee stance, when you resist, you decrease the cooldown of backstep by 5 seconds on the resist. So if you fit it in like this, if you fit it in just right, you pretty much can dash like crazy. And then you can be able to SS again by that time. That's the only real tip that I can kind of give, and it's really generic, and a lot of soul fighters just endlessly waste their iframes their dashes without paying attention. Like a lot of them will just do E, Q, SS, SS, E, Q, and that's generally bad because then you get caught with your pants down. So if you just use SS, SS, E, Q, Q, E, iframes, SS again, you have a lot of uptime. One more final tip that I can give is when you're under the effects of self-defense chi, if you have certain classes like a blade master or a blade dancer that have a 5-point strike and they're dashing on top of you while you have self-defense chi, they're typically doing that to try and burn your 5-hit bubble. So under your bubble, just counter between their third or fourth hit, and you'll still retain your self-defense chi while defending off whatever attack they're about to apply. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of blade masters, including myself as a blade master, we will use 5-point strike to burn a soul fighter bubble, and then we'll hit them with boot. Because usually afterwards, they're gonna like counter, but they'll counter too late when they don't have a bubble anymore. The boot's pretty much going to stun them. So always counter a 5-hit or a 5-point strike from a blade dancer or a blade master on the 3rd hit or the 4th hit. Never counter on the 5th. You want to do it so that you can reserve your self-defense chi. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. There's not really much more for me to explain on the class. Like, there's small details here and there, but honestly, you just need to play the class for yourself, take my information, and apply it. It's a really, really easy class to play in 6s. It's really easy to get a lot of kills. It's also really easy to die. I have to reiterate this one more time. This class sucks. But, yeah, hopefully this will help you become a somewhat better soul fighter. And honestly, I swear this was all a ploy from Darksma to get our secret strats, because I just exposed some top secret combos that are never really talked about. So congrats. This was all for 2,000 gold. I hate my life. I never want to play Soul Fighter again. Miss me with this class. I'm going back to Blade Master. Deuces.